My name is Paul Cambio. I'm one of the chairs of the Health and Wellness Committee of the California Lawyers Association. And we try to present various programs, a wide variety of diversified programs to engage lawyers and educate them on different aspects of health and wellness. Like right now, we have a January wellness challenge. So if you go to our webpage, you can see that we have highlighted various things to do during the week. You can do them in any order you want. You can follow along. We post some articles to reinforce those ideas on Facebook. Today, we encourage people to call a friend or a relative and reach out and talk to them. And we thought it'd be an excellent opportunity to do some highlight networking. And Gary Johnson is a networking specialist. He works with attorneys individually to try to get them better clients. We all could use better clients, better paying clients, better clients that treat us better. Layla, one of our committee members, suggested Gary, and I've met Gary on some networking hikes. And without further ado, I'll turn things over to Gary. Thank you, Gary, for presenting for us today.
Thanks, Paul. Yeah, and like what Paul was saying, I actually thought that you were going to say that January was a challenge to be dry, a dry January. That's what everybody seems to be doing these days. But I was wrong. So it's a good way to start out a presentation. Be wrong. So an M&A attorney with over 16 years of experience, he had a bit of an issue. And his issue was that he had an annual revenue of about $1.5 million, and he hit that for the last 4 years. He was very competent. He was very sure of his skills. He understood the art of the deal very beautifully. And he had this issue of getting over the hump, and he was frustrated by it. He also had very little charisma and had very little influence. He also got very frustrated with small talk and had a big frustration with the lack of connecting with other people. I mean, true connections. And so when we started working together, we wanted to make sure that we were able to get him over the hump and then move on strategically after that. Last year, in 2025, he did $7.2 million in annual revenue. And there were a few factors that really got him over that $1.5 million hump. But one of the biggest ones was his ability to increase his influence and his charisma. And so today, I want to share with you ways to become more charismatic and persuasive. All of this is based on science and experience of coaching hundreds on this specific subject. And everyone on this, well, I think everybody on here is very intelligent. And that's the reason why I bring up that it's based on science and experience, because this stuff is going to seem very simple to do. And it is simple, but it is difficult to do it automatically. And it's difficult to have that consistency and to make it actually work. But it will work if you actually do it and stay with it. But it is very simple concepts that are on this that are extremely powerful. So don't discount it based on just that fact. So I believe that in our society, we have a connection crisis right now. And one of the reasons why is because of our busyness or the perception of our busyness. I also believe it has to do with our rigid routines. We only do things just a certain way. Oh, I do it this way. And I don't want to break out of that. And I only connect with people at these places or in these groups. And the other one is our wonderful phones, computers, all the digital distractions that we have That is one of the biggest ones that we see as being a crisis of connection with other human beings. And so we want to really understand communication because communication matters. The reason why it matters is because when you can communicate really effectively, your confidence goes up, your anxiety goes down, you're actually able to take more calculated risks, and it creates so many more client and business opportunities out there. So, before I go into what is charisma, I want to talk about what charisma is not. And this is one of the biggest myths is that a lot of people think charisma is this, and either I don't have this or I don't want this. But I want to dispel this myth of what charisma is not. One, it's not being popular. It's not a popularity contest. You don't need to be liked by everyone to be charismatic. You need to connect deeply with people that are right in front of you. The other thing is manipulating others. It's not about manipulating others. Persuasion is actually ethical. And I always say the difference between manipulation and persuasion or influence is that in manipulation, I win, you lose. But in persuasion and influence, it's a win-win situation, which is a very great ethical thing to have. The other thing that charisma is not is perfection. In fact, being vulnerable, being authentic, and being imperfect actually heightens your charisma in so many different ways. The other thing is, it's not about being an extroverted individual. You do not need to be this loud, obnoxious individual like myself. I know that I'm an extrovert. I'm extremely outgoing. Some people say I am much, especially my wife, but it's not about being extroverted. In fact, quiet, thoughtful people can be wildly charismatic because charisma is about presence. It's not about volume. And the other thing is, I find the most charismatic people who are also the best networkers are introverts, which is a good thing because there was a study out that said close to 70% of all lawyers are actually introverts. So this is going to be good news for a lot of people that are on this call. The other thing that charisma is not is it's not about showing that you are the smartest one in the room. I find lawyers are so guilty of this. Look at me. I got to be so smart to make sure that everybody understands how competent I am. This is a myth. This is a big myth too, especially with lawyers. The other one is dominating conversations. That's not charisma. Charisma is about listening. It's not about dominating a conversation. It's also not about impressing others, this is another wildly one is, how do I impress everybody? If you're trying to impress everybody, that means you do not have charisma. And then the last one is, and there's an asterisk next to this, not about telling certain stories. And I'm going to go into later on a little bit about the right stories that you need to be telling. So then if we look at this, what is charisma? I love these two definitions for charisma. And the first one is it's the ability to make others feel seen, valued, and energized in your presence. Let me repeat that. The ability to make others feel seen, valued, and energized in your presence. The other thing that it is charisma is the skill, and I really mean skill because everybody can learn this, but it's the skill of inspiring trust and enthusiasm through how you show up, not who you are. And those are extremely important elements to charisma that we're going to be really diving into so that you can be more charismatic. So I'm sure a lot of you have heard this saying, know, like, and trust. And it usually goes know, like, and trust so people can refer you. And in this, attorneys are typically really heavy on what I call competence. And when they're talking to people, they want to be heavy on How do I allow that other person to understand how competent I am? Which is a good thing. However, it needs to be balanced with warmth. And I'll explain what I mean by this. Warmth, if you're warm with other people, they will trust and like you. And if you're competent, they will know and trust you. But you have to have a balance between these two. You have to have a balance between warmth and competence. If it's too much warmth, they don't think that you're going to be good for their clients, their friends, their family that they want to refer into you. On the flip side, if you're too competent, you're seen as a jerk. You're seen as somebody who is arrogant, maybe a narcissist. So we have to balance those two out between warmth and competence. It's such an important element. I find most attorneys will veer more towards competence. And the reason why is not because they're not warm people. It's because they feel like my whole job is to be extremely competent for my clients, to be 20 steps ahead so that I can give them the best counsel possible, which is all true. But what they leave out is the warmth of individuals and being able to connect with those other individuals as well. So when we are actually talking about charisma, we have to talk about what do you actually need to do. This is where the rubber meets the road. Because all of this is like, okay, what's charisma? I get it. What's not charisma? I get it. I understand the importance of this, but how do I do this? So I want to first start with our first impressions. First impressions are made typically within 7 seconds of meeting somebody. And we need to make sure that we are hitting on our first impression extremely well. And it's an easy way to do this, and it's called the triple threat. Here's what it is. Triple threat is 1, have good eye contact. Have really good eye contact. The second is hands. And I'm going to explain what all of these are. And then posture. Posture is another one. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to stop screen sharing, and I'm going to show you what I mean by this. Good eye contact. You want to make sure that when you are listening to them that you have good eye contact. And here's a trick that you can use. It's called the triangle, where you look at their left eye, you look at right between their eyes, and then you look at the right eye, and then you just do this. Just go back and forth. Obviously, you don't want to be darting, like da, 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 da. That's just annoying. But it's a very casual way to be able to keep eye contact. One thing you don't want to do is, 1, look over people's shoulders. Very disrespectful. It loses the connection. And also, you don't want to stare in their eyes like you're looking into their soul. It's so like, oh my God, look away. Please look away. Please look away. Like, and you kind of look away so that they will. Don't be that person. You can look down, you can look at, but have really good eye contact. Now, when I talk about hands, these are really important in our society. And the reason why, when you're speaking to somebody, you want to have your hands out and open. It creates trust. It's a very subliminal, subconscious thing. In our society, this is trustworthy. If you think of the old Westerns, they had poker games in typically Westerns. And one of the biggest things that you can't do is have your hands underneath the table. You'll get shot for it. Reason why is because they think you're hiding something. It's the same thing when you're networking, when you're talking to a potential client, when you're giving a presentation. Have your hands out. Don't stuff them in your pockets, have them out. The other thing is, have them in your power sphere. And your power sphere is between your eyes and your belly button. So, to show you, it's between here and here. If you have your hands above, that's just obnoxious. But if you have your hands below it, that is showing insecurity. It's showing a lack of confidence. So you want to keep it in this area and just keep them here. And you can use them. Hey, what's going on? How'd you like that? What is this? Use them. If you can see in my presentation, I use these a lot because I've been trained to. But the other is your posture. You need to have really good posture to be very charismatic. And the great posture is having chest out, shoulders back, Your chin needs to be up. You shouldn't be veering down because, again, that's very confident. And also, your feet need to be shoulder length apart. It's called a power pose. And it relays to the other person that you're comfortable and that you are one of persuasion. So they need to be listening to you. And that you can do all within the first 7 seconds. Okay, now I'm going to go back to the next aspect of being charismatic is being an active listener. And I know people go, yeah, of course, yeah, of course. But I find most people are not active listeners. Either they will do too much talking or they will be doing too much listening. And what I mean by just listening, there's a difference between just listening and active listening. And I'll give you an example of this. You ask somebody a question and they tell you a story for the next 15 minutes and you let them drone on. That's bad. That's just listening. That's not active listening. Because the horrible thing about that is, one, the person probably completely wasted your time. And secondly, they actually think that you are a waste of time. Now, they did 95% of the talking, but because you allowed them to just drone on and on, they were like, yeah, that person brought zero value to the conversation. So, how do you do this? How are you able to be an active listener and make sure that they're not droning on and on? Well, here's things that you can do. First, we talked about this before, eye contact when listening. And actually observe yourself with this. It'll blow your mind away. And I'll tell you the reason why is because it's so easy to have eye contact with somebody when you're talking to them. But when they're talking to you, you can get easily distracted, especially if you're afflicted with ADD. The other one is make facial cues. Smile, frown, laugh, like this, right? Your face needs to be sharing with them, I'm listening, I'm a part of this conversation. You need to be making sure that your facial cues are also appropriate to what's being said. The other one is a nod. Now, there are different ways that you can nod. Now, everybody's like, what do you mean by that? Okay, if you've ever seen this, and again, I'm going to do this. If you've ever heard of the 3 nod, where you're doing this, 3 nods. Okay, so you can do this and have a completely different perspective. And I'll show you. This, I'm listening to you. Tell me a little bit more. It's a whole lot different than this. The rate is extremely different. This means let's wrap this up. Come on, you've been talking way too long. Let's go. So we want to make sure that we are nodding because that allows, again, the other person to understand I'm connecting with you. And charismatic people are so great at this. The other one is asking clarifying questions because being an active listener, you have to actually engage with them. So ask them questions. Oh, tell me a little bit about this. Tell me a little bit about this. This goes hand in hand with this next one, which is interrupt often. Now, a lot of people go, well, God, that's rude. You can interrupt somebody without being rude. And you can do it very easily by this trick. Early on in the conversation, as somebody's talking, you just go, oh, interesting. Yeah, wow, Make these little sounds. And then when you want to make a point or you want to tell a story, you interrupt them, it'll be a lot more received by their end. And you're like, oh my God, before you move on, can I tell you something? And then you say something. Or can I ask you, how did you come up with that? It allows that person to go, oh my gosh, she's really, really listening to exactly what I'm saying. If you do these things, I can't tell you how much people will love you. Just by having the right eye contact when you're listening, making the facial cues, nodding appropriately, asking clarifying questions and interrupting others, but allow them to finish their thought. That right there will make you into a great active listener. Now, the other part about being charismatic is being likable. Now, if you remember what I said before, what is not charisma is popularity contest. This is not a popularity contest. This is just being likable. So, how do we be likable? Well, the first one is smile. Good God, there's not enough people who do this. One of your biggest assets is your smile. So use it. Don't be afraid to use it. It's warm, it's inviting. Don't be the creepy smile, but have a genuine smile. I can't tell you, like, this is just a total game changer, is smiling. The other one to be likable is yes and. If you've never taken an improv class, I would highly recommend it because yes and has everything to do with improv. And it's this very easy concept that when somebody says something, you just say, oh, yes, and this is something that is extremely challenging for attorneys. Reason why is because you are in the profession of being adversarial, helping your clients not get sued, not take on too much risk. And so you go, yes, but da 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 da. That hurts connections with other people. You can still disagree with somebody by still using yes and. But yes and is a very, very powerful thing to being likable. The other one is be curious about the other person. I don't care if you like them or not, you can still be curious about them. This goes back to being an active listener. Be curious, ask them questions, ask them clarifying questions too, but be curious about them. Others can really feel that you are doing this. Here's some certain things that you can say to show that you're being curious. Tell me more. It's a very easy statement. Or that's such an interesting way to look at it. Or that must have been such a big moment for you. What did you love most about it? These are all allowing you to be more curious. I see where you are coming from on this. And then the last one is to be likable, tell stories that are about the other person. Remember when I said telling stories are not charismatic? And I put a little asterisk. If you are telling stories that are keeping the connection with the other person, it will make you a whole lot more charismatic. If you are in a conversation with somebody and they're talking about the football games that just happened this last week in the playoffs, and then all of a sudden you're like, yeah, I've got this client, da 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 da, and you're like, what does that have to do with this? What you're doing is you're losing out on the connection with the other person. So smile, do a yes and, be curious about them, and tell stories that are about the other person. All right. Then we get into conversation starters. The two biggest conversation starters are how are you doing and what do you do for a living when you first meet somebody. So Layla, what do you do for a living? It's an easy one. Now, the reason why I do not like this question for your conversation starter is because everybody asks that question. You are not going to be memorable at all. In charismatic, people want to be memorable. So we need to change this up. We need to have conversation starters that are not, hey, Paul, how you doing? Or, hey, Paul, what do you do for a living? When we are at an event and you're meeting somebody for the first time. So we're going to do a breakout. And I want you to talk about and identify 2 to 3 conversation starters that you can use in a conversation that you're starting up with somebody you don't know. Just, hey, I want to have this conversation with somebody. You're just meeting them. Let's say you meet them at a bar event and you want to start it out with something that is not, hey, so Paul, what type of law do you practice? And it's going to make you memorable and it's going to make you stand out. What is one conversation starter that you came up with in your group? Put that into chat so everybody can see and we can learn from each other. What brought you to this event? Travel spots? Is this your first conference? remote working, ask what they thought of the last session. Well, these are coming in fast and furious. What kind of music genres do you like? Anything fun planned this weekend? Name relation. How was your weekend? Any movies? Academy Awards? God, you guys came up with a lot. I like your handbag. That's one that I get all the time. All the time. No. Okay, so one of the things, one of the elements about a conversation starter is it needs to be authentically you. Like I was just having a conversation with John Woo, and one of the things that we had talked about, one of the questions he said was, what's a great restaurant that you love? And because of him and his wife are foodies, that's an important element to him. So and the reason why that's good is because when you ask the question, you're going to have enthusiasm. You're going to have a lot of enthusiasm about it. That's a good thing. It makes you more attractive to them. So we want to lean into that. And so what I want to encourage everybody is don't use the same question every single time, and try and stay away from what do you do for a living and how are you doing? Now, which gets us to the next element, which is how do you answer questions? This one is just as important as the questions that you ask. So when we're answering questions from other people, we want to make sure that we don't give them what I call a crappy answer. And here's what I mean by that. And this one is used all the time. When I ask somebody, how you doing? They typically give me this answer. I am busy. Oh, so busy. Oof. Or, yeah, everything's good. And it's done. Conversation over with. Here's the reason why busy is such a horrible answer. I don't want to refer business to somebody who's too busy. And I understand the reasons why we're using it. We want people to think, well, I've got a lot of business, so I'm competent. I know what I'm doing. You can still do that without saying busy. What you should be answering is forward thinking and also being honest. So when somebody says, oh, how are you doing? Really looking forward to 2026, really looking forward to this. Excited about my team is playing in the playoffs this weekend. I'm excited about this new program I'm doing for my clients. You can still say, yeah, we had this great vacation that we just had over the holidays. But what you want to do also when you're answering these questions is be confident. I.e., don't look down, don't mumble. Be confident. Remember your body language. Also, try to be positive. And also try to give an answer that is fairly interesting and lastly, honest. Now, when I say honest, vulnerability is a very difficult thing to do. But if you're talking to somebody, you also want to be extremely honest with them. And if something is challenging in your life, you may want to bring that up because it's okay. People actually connect with you on a deeper level when they can help you overcome a challenge. And let me tell you, the vast majority of people want to help. However, though, and this is another aspect, if you're having something challenging, also be aware of TMI. Don't be like, oh my God, it's been a really difficult couple of weeks. My wife left me and I did this and that. And you're like, whoa, 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 whoa. For meeting somebody for the first time, that's way too much, way too much. But if it's something that is like, hey, I'm really challenging because I'm trying to do this or this, especially when it comes to your practice, that allows them to potentially give you some insight. When they give you insight, the connection goes through the roof, absolutely through the roof. And so we want to make sure that we are connecting with those people because again, When you're connecting with them in your presence, that means that you're being persuasive, influential, and charismatic. So here's what we're going to do again. We're going to go into another breakout room, and we are going to identify 2 to 3 ways to answer this specific question. How are you doing? And the reason why, even though I don't like this question gets asked all of the time. We can't get away from it. And the one thing I don't want you to do is, because you're very smart, to wing it. Have something ready. Have a few of these different ways ready to go so that when somebody asks you, "So, Sherry, how you doing?" You can be like, and you can answer that question without saying busy, good, fine. You know, something a little different. All right, welcome back, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Again, same drill. If you can put something short and easy in there of how you would answer the question, how are you doing? And I'm curious if there's any really interesting or offensive things that people are going to say. Depends on the weather. Looking forward to the next week off. Oh, that's a good one. Love that, Leslie. Answer it with humor. Well, got up today, so great. Lawrence, that is like perfect. Comment on the weather, the weekend, vacation, looking forward to that. I have a great golf trip coming up, Paul. I wasn't invited, thanks. We're talking about the gym. Yeah, so as you can see, there's so many different ways that you can do it besides busy, good, fine. And we want to make sure that we're adhering to that. It'll make you more memorable. It'll make it so that you are more persuasive. And again, this goes back to our first impressions. If your first impression is like everybody else, you're not going to be very memorable. We want you to be memorable. Okay, so the last thing that I want to talk about is storytelling. Storytelling is a challenging thing. And the reason why it's challenging is because most people do not prepare in advance to tell a story. They, what we call, wing it. Have you ever had a conversation with somebody where they were like, "Oh my gosh, Zach, that reminds me. I had this client that also had an estate planning issue. They were up in Michigan. I don't know if you've ever been to Michigan, but my God, like right now, cold, like really cold. There was one summer that my father took me fishing there, you know, and it was like even cold during the summertime. I mean, but their lakes are beautiful, and you know, thank God I grew up in Southern California. And all right, what the hell just happened? You had a full ADD moment where you just lost somebody. And the reason why is because the information is coming into your head about whatever you're trying to talk about. But if you prepared in advance, then it just flows out and it's nice and concise. You want to try and keep your stories to 30 seconds to 2 minutes long. You try to not to go out over that. Now, you could tell a story that they then ask a follow-on question, then you can make that longer. But you never want to say these words, ever. Please try never to repeat these words. So long story short, because what that really means, and this is true, what it really means is I'm telling a long story and I'm just going to make it longer. And I'm just going to continue to go on and on and on. I actually lost a friendship from this because I had this group of people, we were having dinner, and this one guy was like telling the story. He goes, "So long story short, blah, 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 blah. So long story short, blah, blah, blah. So long story short." And I finally stopped him. I go, "Hey, Richard, real quick." He goes, "Yeah." I go, "When is the story ever going to be short? Because you keep saying it's going to be short, but it's not." He was pissed. You know, we had some words, you know, I was being a little bit of a dick, but you know, it was what it was. But it's also a big pet peeve. Make your story short because people think that way. Oh my God, when are they going to stop? Now, you take a short, concise story and you add it with this formula. And this formula is important, which is how to tell a story. And here's the formula. When somebody is saying something that coincides with a story that you have, you then politely interrupt them and go, "Oh my God, that reminds me of." So you're taking, if we go back to Lord of the Flies, we take the conch, so now I'm talking, we say our story, and it's quick story again. And then here's the most important part is you boomerang it back to them by asking them a question to keep the connection going. You are taking it because as soon as you take the conversation, they're going to go, "Oh God, here goes Lawrence again." No, no, no. And then you're like, you tell your quick story and then you throw it back to them by asking them a question that has to do with what you guys are talking about. They're going to be like, "Oh my God, this is great." They're going to be more energized. But here's the thing is your presence with them will be a connection. You're not losing that connection. And again, this goes back to what's not charisma. It's not trying to be the smartest person in the room. It's not trying to dominate the conversation. So it's that back and forth. So if you're curious, if you're likable, if you're doing all the right things like nodding, all of that starts to come together where then you become extremely charismatic. People are like, "I love being around you." And that's what we're really wanting because that gets you a lot of business. So to go back to what is charisma, the definitions that I love are the ability to make others feel seen, valued, and energized in your presence. And charisma is the skill of inspiring trust and enthusiasm through how you show up, not who you are. And we want to make sure we have that balance between warmth and competence. We do the triple threat as soon as we meet somebody. Really good eye contact, show your hands, and make sure you've got good posture. We want to be active listening. We want to be likable. We want to also ask memorable conversation starters. And lastly, tell the right stories. Make sure you have these in your toolkit so that you can use these. Don't wing it. Make sure that they're concise, 30 seconds to 2 minutes, and make sure that you grab the conversation, tell your story, and boomerang it back to them. So here are next steps. 1, I want everybody, I want to encourage everybody to be consistent. Try these things out. If they don't work, keep working at it. It's like working out. You get better and better at doing it. Be playful in this. Have some fun. Don't be so stodgy. That's not a good thing. Also, remember small changes equal very, very big results. And work hard at this. And as you work hard and you're consistent making small changes, you are going to find within a very short amount of time, you will be extremely charismatic and persuasive. So with that, I think we are right up to the end, Paul. Is that right?
Yes.
So I know we have another 7 minutes. Any questions that anybody has? If you can raise your proverbial hand. John. Oh, wait. No, sorry. That was a thumbs up. My bad, John.
I have a question that was in the chat earlier.
Yeah, go ahead, Megan.
Christopher Rose wants to know how he might handle different cultures and a mix of cultures handling situations where hand signals and things send different messages across different cultures.
Yeah, Christopher, that's a great question. One is, be very conscious about that. I mean, you got one extreme to the other. If you're talking to an Italian, my God, they're using it like crazy, right, Paul? It's like, it's just a part of the culture.
It helps the words flow out of your mouth.
Right. I'll be honest with you. I totally agree with that because if my hands are tied, I have no idea what the hell I'm going to say. But on the other aspect, if somebody is from a culture that is not that expressive, you need to mirror them. And this doesn't mean that you need to mirror, like people say, well, what if they are dull and boring? Do you also need to be dull and boring? So here's a really good thing to mirror and match them is that you want to match them and then you want to bring them up. And so if it's the use of hands, you want to delicately try and use it a little bit more, but be conscious of them. When you're doing this, good way to find out if you're doing it right or not is watch them. If they're losing interest or if you can see that they're uncomfortable, then tone it down. Definitely tone it down. But a good mirroring is an important element. Here's one that I learned a few years ago in networking, which is if somebody is from Japan, and I think it's some other Asian cultures as well, and you ask for their business card, and they give it to you with two hands. It is known as a nameplate, and they're giving it to you, and it is an honor to get this from them. So you want to take it from them with two hands as well, and you look at the front, and then you look at the back, and then you say thank you, and you put it into your pocket. One of the things that I do a lot of is writing on people's business cards right in front of them. And the reason why is because I forget. That's okay in certain cultures, especially in, in certain cultures. But I learned that was a big no-no with somebody who was very gracious to me, but he did give me a schooling, and I learned very, very quickly, oh my gosh, I can't do that. And being from Irvine, where the majority of the demographic in Irvine is Asian, I got that a lot. And it really helped me out in a big way. So learn. You're going to make mistakes though. That's okay. I'd rather you make mistakes. You can't undo a mistake unless you're a total jerk, unless you're extremely offensive, which I've been known to have done that on occasions every once in a while, where throwing an F-bomb out or something and going, okay, I got to reel this back. But I'm really good at making amends too. It's one of my secret sauce, like saying I'm sorry, because I do it quickly. Yeah, good question. Any other questions?
We've got a bunch of questions in the chat.
Okay, fire away. If you can help.
Yep, names and forgetfulness, how best to deal with that, asks Joe, or John.
Yeah, if anybody has ever seen The Office, Michael Scott does a great one where it's, no, I'm kidding. If you've never seen that episode, go and watch it. One of the best episodes ever. It's very offensive. But what trick that I use is I will say that person's name as soon as they say it. So they'll be like, oh, hi, I'm Layla. Oh, Layla, very nice to meet you. Instead of just, oh, hey, nice to meet you. It's Layla. Say their name 2 or 3 times. It'll usually get in. And then start to pepper it throughout the conversation. However, don't overuse it. It's just a great way. I'm not good at going, okay, Layla, and then mnemonics. Layla rhymes with, no, I'm not even going to try it. Some people use that, but I find a very simple way is just to say their name a couple of times. Now, if you remember before, you have to make eye contact with them when you're talking to them and listening. When you're making eye contact with them and saying their name, it really starts to resonate in your own brain. What else, Megan?
Let's see. The next one is, how do you boomerang back the story after interrupting?
This is a very difficult thing. And one of the reasons why I say make sure that your stories are ready and make sure you rehearse them. Because you don't want to be thinking about the details of the story. You just want the stories to come out naturally. And as you're telling the story, you're thinking about what can you say that can boomerang it back. A very easy one is, have you ever had that situation happen before? That's kind of relating to the story that you have, or bringing back something in that conversation that you had with them maybe a few minutes ago. But you're trying to keep that connection between them. And it's a very simple question to them. It keeps the connection going.
Okay,
and
next.
by the way, wait, real quick, Megan.
Yep.
By the way, the more you do it, the easier it is. It's going to be difficult to begin with, but keep at it. Go ahead, Megan.
How do you deal with people who are clearly lonely and glob onto you at an event? Also, those who talk too much.
Okay, so here's a great one. It's called grazing. And what you do is, if there's food or drink that is there, you just get a few different things. You don't load your plate up. And what you do is you politely leave that conversation by getting another drink, getting some food. If you don't have either one of those, the bathroom is a good thing to do. However, though, do not make this mistake. And you say, hey, Megan, great speaking to you. I got to go get something to eat. I'll be right back. You don't want to be right back. You want to have the conversation finished, but it's something we say to be nice. Instead, just say, it was very nice to meet you. And then you're off and just go. Just go. I've never had an issue with that. And then they glom onto somebody else. Oh, but wait, here's another one. If somebody is really boring, they're monotone, they're just killing you. Instead of initially trying to leave them, I want to challenge you on something. And this is going to make you a better networker. Get that person to be enthusiastic when they're speaking. The way that you do that is you need to listen to what's important to them, and you talk about that. I have a son who is on the spectrum. He's highly, highly intelligent, like IQ off the charts. I actually sometimes wonder whose kid he is. And he hates talking to people. He's very introverted and he's very shy. He has taught me how to be a better communicator because I know that when I tap into something, he lights up and he starts to talk. And I always make this challenge and I get better and better. Now, am I 100%? No, not at all. However, I have better conversations with people. And here's the thing is, those people will always remember you because you cared enough to really dive into a conversation with them, which will make you very, very memorable. Okay, next question.
How do you tell a perennially soft talker they need to speak more loudly and they keep reverting to being quiet talkers?
Yeah, this one's a tough one, because you don't want to be like fully lean into them. I think the most honest way is just be very blunt and honest with them. You say, "Hey, I am so sorry. I really want to hear what you're saying, but I can't. Is there any way that you might be able to speak up?" There's another, you can also like, "Hey, could we go to a different part of whatever this event is? Because events are typically really loud. So can we go to a different area of it?" That's a difficult one, but those typically work. And if they continue to, then here comes the restroom. Here comes I got to get another drink. You just fall right into that. Yeah. I want to be cognizant of everybody's time. So, Paul, I know that we are right at that hour mark.
Yeah, can people reach out to you directly?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, if you guys have more questions, please feel free. Just reach out to me. I love giving this sort of advice anytime. Also, I do weekly videos on how to do marketing and business development better on LinkedIn. So, if you want to check out those videos, you can connect with me. I'm all over LinkedIn because I love sharing these different things. And if you also want to take it, and you're going to laugh at the name, if you want to take it to the next level, we also have a group coaching program. That is a 6-month accelerator that's actually starting in March. If you want more information on that, and it's a collaboration group that really talks about messaging, goal setting, talks about networking, referral strategies, but it's really to help you build a really solid book of business with other people. And it's an accountability. You get accountability partners with it. And it's at a very, very small price. So if you're interested in that too, please reach out to me. Be more than happy to help you with that.
Can you give us your
Thank-
contact info?
Yeah. I'm going to put it into the chat right now.
It's also probably listed at the registration site of the event as well. We probably have your contact and website and email on there as well.
Okay.
Plus,
Yeah.
I should tell everybody that we record these and they go on our YouTube page and on our web page. So once we get it uploaded, you'll have the opportunity to watch the whole thing from womb to tomb, as they say.
Womb to tomb. I like that.
And thank you, Gary, again. It was
You're
an
very
excellent
welcome.
presentation. I really
Thank you.
enjoyed that we got practical solutions to these problems. The lawyers generally like not to deal in generalities, but the facts. And it was an
Yep.
excellent program. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome, Paul, and thank you for the nice compliment. All right, everybody, have a good week or weekend. Go Broncos.